He walked in to buy a gift for his wife, but within minutes, a simple shopping trip turned into a humiliating ordeal. What happened next was a shocking twist that left everyone in the store speechless. The boutique was immaculate. White marble floors gleamed under the soft glow of pendant lights, and the air carried the faint scent of expensive perfume. Daniel paused for a moment, letting his eyes adjust to the bright interior. As an engineer, his daily attire consisted of a hard hat and boots, but today he wore his sharpest blazer and shoes polished to perfection. He was determined to find the perfect gift for his wife, something to show his appreciation for her unwavering support during tough times. He took a deep breath and stepped inside. The entrance bell jingled softly as the door closed behind him. The boutique wasn't busy. A couple browsed near a glass jewelry case, and a woman studied scarves. Behind the counter stood the store manager, a woman in her late 40s with platinum blonde hair and a tailored suit that exuded authority. She glanced up from her phone, locking eyes with Daniel for a split second before her gaze shifted to his shoes, then his hands and back to his face. Her expression hardened almost imperceptibly, but Daniel noticed. He had seen that look before. "Good afternoon," Daniel said, his voice friendly yet steady. "I'm looking for a gift for my wife. Her birthday is coming up." The manager tilted her head slightly, her lips pressed into a tight line. She didn't respond immediately, her eyes scanning him as if assessing whether he belonged there. "Do you have an appointment?" she finally asked, her tone clipped. Daniel blinked, caught off guard. "An appointment? No, I wasn't aware I needed one." Her eyebrows arched slightly, and her tone turned patronizing. "We typically work with clients by appointment. It's more efficient that way." Daniel maintained his composure, though her words stung. "I see. Well, I won't take much of your time. I just wanted to browse for something special." She hesitated, then gestured vaguely toward the far end of the store. "Fine, but a high-end boutique. Prices might not be what you're used to." The words hit like a slap. Daniel took a deep breath, his hands tightening slightly before he forced them to relax. "I'm aware." "Thank you," he replied, his tone steady as he moved toward the jewelry case. He could feel her eyes on him, her presence like a shadow hovering just out of reach but impossible to ignore. The couple by the jewelry case glanced at him briefly, exchanging a look he couldn't quite decipher, before resuming their browsing. Daniel tried to focus on the display of delicate gold necklaces, diamond-studded earrings, and intricate bracelets, but the manager's footsteps echoed behind him. It was clear she wasn't there to help. "Is there something specific you're looking for?" she asked suddenly, her voice closer than he expected. "Yes," Daniel replied, turning to face her. "A bracelet, something elegant but not too flashy. My wife has a simple style." The manager tilted her head, her smile thin and insincere. "I see. Well, we have some lovely options, but perhaps you'd prefer to check out our lower-tier collection online. It might be more suitable." Daniel stared at her, stunned by her audacity. He opened his mouth to respond but stopped himself. Part of him wanted to call her out, but another part, tired of microaggressions, wanted to avoid a scene. Instead, he said, "I'd still like to see what you have here." Her smile didn't waver, but the tension in her posture was unmistakable. She pulled out a tray of bracelets, setting it on the counter with deliberate slowness that felt almost mocking. Daniel leaned closer to examine them, his mind racing as he tried to focus. "This one's beautiful," Daniel said, pointing to a slender gold bracelet with a small emerald at its center. "Can I see it up close?" She hesitated, then reluctantly picked up the bracelet with gloved hands. Her movements were overly cautious, as if he might snatch it and run. "This piece is quite exclusive," she said, her voice tinged with condescension. "It's from a designer collection, very high-end." Daniel nodded. "That's fine. May I hold it?" After a pause, she handed it to him. Daniel admired the craftsmanship, imagining it on his wife's wrist, but the manager's sharp tone snapped him out of his thoughts. "Are you sure this is in your price range?" Daniel's heart sank, though he didn't let it show. "I'll let you know once I decide," he replied evenly, placing the bracelet back on the counter. His calm response seemed to irritate her even more. "You know," she said, leaning in slightly, "we don't usually allow people to browse for too long. It disrupts the flow for our regular clients." Daniel straightened, meeting her gaze. "I wasn't aware my presence was disruptive. I'm just here to shop like anyone else." Her smile thinned further. "It's not personal, sir. It's just policy." Daniel glanced around the store, noting how the other customers were left to browse at their leisure. Before he could respond, her voice rose slightly. "Actually, I think we're going to have to ask you to leave. I don't think we have anything suitable for you." The words hit like a slap. Humiliation crept into his thoughts. "I haven't done anything wrong," Daniel said firmly. "I'm just shopping for my wife. Is there a problem?" Her tone grew icy. "Sir, if you don't leave now, I'll have to call security." Daniel's pulse quickened, but he stayed calm. "Call them," he said quietly. "I haven't done anything wrong, and I'm not leaving." The store grew tense as customers began to notice the exchange. The manager pulled out her phone and called security, loudly describing the situation. Moments later, a uniformed guard arrived, his eyes darting between Daniel and the manager, already piecing together her narrative. Before the situation could escalate further, a commanding voice cut through the tension. "What on earth is going on here?" Everyone turned to see a tall man in a tailored suit enter the boutique. His salt and pepper hair and authoritative presence silenced the room. The manager's demeanor shifted instantly. "Mr. Coleman, I didn't expect you today," she said. "Clearly," he replied coldly. "Would someone explain why this man is being treated like a criminal in my store?" The manager stammered, but Mr. Coleman silenced her with a glare. He turned to Daniel and said, "This is unacceptable. I'll make this right." Mr. Coleman's face softened as he addressed Daniel. "My sincerest apologies, sir. This is not how we treat our customers." Turning back to the manager, his tone hardened again. "We will discuss this further in my office." Daniel, still reeling from the experience, nodded slowly. "I appreciate that," he said, his voice steady but tinged with disbelief. "Allow me to personally assist you," Mr. Coleman continued. He gestured toward the jewelry cases. "Please take your time." The shift in atmosphere was palpable. The other customers pretended not to stare, though their curiosity was evident. The manager retreated behind the counter, her face flushed with embarrassment and anger. Daniel hesitated, unsure whether to stay or leave, but Mr. Coleman's genuine demeanor convinced him to continue. Together, they browsed the store's finest selection. Coleman's knowledge of the pieces and his attentive service quickly put Daniel at ease. "This bracelet," Coleman said, holding up a delicate gold piece with a ruby center, "might suit your wife's style perfectly." Daniel examined it closely, imagining it on his wife's wrist. "It's beautiful," he said. "I'll take it." As the transaction was completed, Mr. Coleman insisted on waiving the service fee as a gesture of apology. "We value every customer who walks through these doors," he said sincerely. "Thank you for giving us the opportunity to make this right." Daniel left the boutique with the bracelet carefully wrapped and tucked into a small bag. The experience had been exhausting, but he felt a sense of vindication. Walking back to his car, he reflected on how easily the situation could have ended differently if not for Mr. Coleman's intervention. Meanwhile, back in the boutique, Mr. Coleman called an impromptu meeting with the staff. "What happened today is unacceptable," he began, his voice firm. "This is not the image we want to portray, nor is it the way we treat people. Changes will be made starting immediately." The manager's face reddened, but she remained silent as Coleman outlined mandatory customer service training and a review of store policies to prevent future incidents. For Daniel, the incident became a story he shared with friends and family, not as a tale of humiliation, but as a testament to the importance of standing firm and the power of accountability. His wife adored the bracelet, its beauty a reflection of the strength and resilience he showed that day.